South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has urged wealthy countries to ensure equitable access to COVID-19 vaccines. Ramaphosa said this while speaking at a virtual meeting of the World Economic Forum. The African Union chairperson says his country, like many other African nations, is struggling to secure sufficient vaccines to start countrywide inoculation programs. Angela Kupla tells us more.
Ramaphosa didn't mince his words when it came to accusing richer countries of hoarding up to 4 times the amount of vaccines needed to protect their populations.
But we need those who have hoarded the vaccines to release the vaccines so that other countries can have them, but also to have financial assistance. And in releasing the vaccines, we're not saying them just give them away. We are also saying, in addition to yes doing that, we are saying do make them available so that those countries that do not have access to vaccines right now should have access.
Analysts highlighted the president's position on vaccine nationalism and said it's a repeat of the position the country took around the production of HIV/AIDS antiretrovirals and getting access to the drug licenses to manufacture those drugs locally.
So it's not something new from a South African perspective. What I found quite interesting is that South Africa's taken quite an aggressive stance on this, and it's been joined by countries like India.
There was also a strong emphasis on multilateralism from Ramaphosa.
Obviously, something that South Africa has been involved in last year in its chairmanship of the African Union, also its role on the United Nations Security Council, and the general discourse that COVID is a global problem, but a lot of countries are adopting very unilateral approaches to battling it, imposing their own rules.
Ramaphosa also discussed the Africa Free Trade Area Agreement. He called it revolutionary and the continent's most important initiative ever.
And we actually saw visions of the future with the African medical supplies platform that we set up, because in a way that was like the precursor to the Africa Free Trade Area Agreement, because African countries were brought together on this platform and they started procuring medicines, medical supplies together.
Analysts remain skeptical about the early successes of the Africa Free Trade Area.
The stories that we hear about backlogs at border posts, fresh produce not reaching its intended destinations in time, I think it's going to be very hard to get something viable out of the agreements in the near future.
Ramaphosa's speech is considered moderate by most analysts that were surveyed. However, he was firm on the vaccine and vaccine hoarding and also on the opportunities offered by the African Free Trade Area. I'm Angelo Coppola for CGTN in Johannesburg, South Africa.
Chief Economist Ken Gichinga at Mentoria Consulting joins us now for more on this. Ken, President Ramaphosa highlighted quite a number of issues, including concerns over vaccine nationalism. What did you make of his speech?
Indeed, his speech was quite powerful. You know, he reminded us of the moral failures that sometimes accompany global markets when some countries hoard vaccines more than 5 times their population sizes, while others in Africa do not have enough supplies. So I think it was a good day for Africa, Davos. I think he made a strong plea for Africa on that front. But I would have wanted him to go a bit further. I would have wanted it to be a bit more philosophical and to really ask the fundamental questions. You know, why is it that African countries are begging for vaccines? What happened to African science? What happened to African manufacturing? All these institutions, you know, if you think of most of these African countries that he's a chairman under the AU, many of them got independence in the 60s at the same time as the South Koreas of this world. So these are countries that many institutions have fallen under corruption, under mismanagement. So I would have wanted him to go the extra length on really reimagining a new Africa of scientists, of innovators, of designers, and I think that is the one place that he maybe did not achieve.
Right. He also emphasized the need for multilateralism. How can this help to limit the economic impact of COVID-19?
Obviously, when countries can work together in terms of coordinated policy, that can only be beneficial to African countries and globally. And I think he's already made a case for that. But there's always a feeling that some of these multilateral arrangements only seem to benefit big business. The biggest beneficiaries of the globalization on front right now has been big business. And I think there is a renewed agenda to try and focus on the small businesses which hire most of these Africans. 60% of Africa is below 25 years. Many of them need jobs, and many of them can only be absorbed in the small companies. So I think really the future really has to be, how do we get money circulating within the African grassroots to get more younger people employed and on towards that ladder of prosperity?
All right, Ken Gichinga, we appreciate your time. Thank you for speaking to us.